Okay, so this video is going to go over how to do custom wall logos. So in our classes at Russell Sage in 2025, everybody did a lovely job making our wall logos. And it turns out we were using for families the generic model template, which we thought would allow us to put it on any surface. It does not. They all stick on the floor. So I'm going to pull some things up and just have examples ready. But I have several examples from students in our class that basically I was helping them troubleshoot. So I'll kind of use that as examples of how, as we kind of walk our way through this. All right, so here's ultimately what we want our logos to do, that when we load them in our project, that they stick on a wall. If you use the generic model, unfortunately, we're just sticking to the floor. This is basically the empty base plan of the building. It has concrete floors, concrete ceilings. This is basically the floor slab for the level above. But eventually you're gonna have, everything finished in here looking nice. So we're doing this early on in the semester, making our logo. So here's a finished one now, not quite painted in yet, but this is for a drink company called Celsius. This is for Amazon. So I'll show you what the Amazon one looks like in a minute. So what basically what you're going to do is you're going to find a cleanly drawn image of your company's logo, and then you're going to trace it, and it's going to become let's show you here so you can see it's going to become an extrusion. So this one is a little weird. We'll talk about this in a minute, of where you have to pop around to see it. In this version, it's along the back. It's a little crazy. So I'll explain that as I build them. But this is ultimately what you're going to be creating. You have on this the template that we're going to use, you have a reference level. So we'll click on that so you can see what that looks like. This is like the placement side. So this side of the wall, theoretically, we should be drawing on. Explain that in a minute. It's a little wacky. Then the elevations here, if we look at the placement side, this is us looking straight onto the wall. So this is what I traced and then pulled it through. And then this is what eventually over here we load into our project. And so the wall does not come with it. The just the like the mass or the shape that you've created is what then can kind of basically glue onto your wall. So to start one from scratch, you're going to go to File, New, and then Family. And then I'll show you the template you want to use for that. Again, it's easy if you don't have all the images here. Instead, click it to say views instead of thumbnails, have list or details. That'll give you just the list in like Word form, which is a little bit easier because there's lots of generic models. So it's hard to see it if it's just in picture form. I'll show you. So see, like there's the thumbnails. It's kind of hard to see like the whole name here. So instead, you want to go over here to list, and we want to get generic model, not face-based, wall-based. Face-based might work. I'm not sure if I trust it, but we're going to go wall-based. So we're going to click that because, again, we want to put our logos onto a wall. Some students in years past have put their logos on their reception desk, but that's not the best idea because think about all the people who are going to walk up to your desk and then they'll be blocking your logo. So ideally, it's best to have it up on the wall behind the desk itself. So this is the placement side. So I'm going to first go to the elevation view of the placement side. So here's us looking straight on to where we want to put this wall. So we kind of talked out the math in class together. So you're going to go here, you're under create, you're going to go to reference line. And first I'm just going to put a random line across here. And once I click on that line, see how we get the ghost dimensions. So for most of us, we have two layers to our reception desk. We have the layer that's at 3 feet for the ADA accessible. So if I type here and make this 3 feet, that's roughly the height where that surface is. But most of you also have a higher, what's called a transaction counter, if somebody walks up and it's kind of more at their chest level. So I'm going to put this line here. So that's 3 feet. That's generally at 1 foot above that. So really about here, for most of you, this is where the top of your desk is going to end, or your reception desk. So I'm going to delete that lower one, keep this one here. We go up like 5 feet. That'll put us at 9 feet. So let me put up here's 5 feet. And so this is 9 feet from the floor. So this is 4 feet, plus another 5, we're at 9. I wouldn't go much taller than that. So this is the range right in here is where you want to draw your logo. So if we go back to this version here, so for this one for Amazon, it's kind of skinny. So I'm having it kind of hover a little bit taller than this, but this is our 4 foot here, then we've got a 5 foot line, just to give you kind of a reference point. All right, so see it's here. I can move that up and down, so I can kind of like, move it up and down. So this is just giving us a good starting point for scale, pretty much, like just how to scale, how big do we want this image. So okay, so actually the student sent me a file that was actually not uh, a JPEG or a PNG file. So I'm literally just going to go into Google, find it now. All right, so here's one. We think this, so right click, say save image as, but we want to make sure it's saving a PNG or a JPEG, because again, that's what Revit will like read and allow us to bring into it. I'm just going to stick it in my downloads folder for now and just call it Chat GPT logo save. All right. You might want to go back and get like a higher quality one, but this one's pretty good. All right, so back over to Revit now. So now we're going to go to downloads here. So actually I'm going to start it back up. So we're going to go to import image. Yes, we know it's not going to show up. And now we're going to go to downloads. So here, there it is right there. Okay, so it's reading that one okay. All right, so it's coming in like this. It's not going to show me anything yet. But right now I can tell this is overscaled for what I want on this wall. So this will be a bit too big, a bit overpowering. So we're going to scale it down. And now this is the roughly a 5 foot. Yeah, it's actually almost exactly 5 foot by 5 foot there. I'm trying to also see this X right here, nudge that to the left so it's right in the center. So there you go. Okay, so now this is what I'm going to use to basically trace the shape. So the student and I saw a couple of images online from other headquarters where they had some really nice 3D effects from this. So the goal is to have this one, and this one be tall, so maybe like a foot, and then this one to be a little shorter, so maybe like 6 inches. Um, a foot and 6 inches might be a little too thick, a little too chunky, but they can come back in, the student later, and edit this themselves. You can also paint in. You'll be able to see like each chunk of these a different material or color. All right, so first what you're going to do for this one is we're creating an extrusion. So I'm going to now do a combination of a straight edge and a curve to draw this first one here. So I'm going to just trace this here. And eventually I'll show you, we want these lines to overlap a bit. So I think I can get this curve here. So I'm kind of drawing in what's like, looks like the center of this black line here. So I'm going to go from here now, and it will kind of try to snap to itself, which is good because we want it to connect. Now this one goes down to here. So these are all straight lines from here on out, then here, and then up to there. Okay, so far so good. All right, so we're going to clean this right currently is at a foot depth. So then we're going to hit the green arrow, say okay. Hard to see anything here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to instead look at the 3D view. So that's over here on the left. See what that looks like. All right, here's the thing that's making us all crazy. We're playing with it in class. So this is the front, but the way we draw it, we actually want it going, let me see if I can explain this with this guy well. We actually want it going like arching to the right. So depending on what wall you're going to use it on, you might pull this through. So let me show you what the deal is with this guy. So since this is uh an extrusion, I can pull it this way through, and then I can line it up with the side of the wall, and then it's looking like this. So when I kind of mocked up the ones that I already have in here, that's what works because here. So when I made it's very strange the way they label these. So what's happening is like it's telling you to draw in place on this side, but it's showing it the way you want it to go on your wall. You actually want it on this side of the wall. So again, whatever language they're using is not making sense for my brain. But as we kind of figure this out together, let's see, here's a Chat GPT one. Let's look at that again. What you want to do is like pull it basically through the wall this way. So we might find that we have to reverse them kind of depending on what direction you're looking at in your floor plan. So in this case, like I said, we're talking about in class. We'll bring up the floor plan. I'm presuming that you're walking this way and your logo's this way, right? But if your wall's over here, you actually want the logo on this side of the wall. So for a lot of folks, it depends on their placement and their eventual floor plan. But you can go back and edit this. So that's kind of the beauty of this guy. So, all right, let me go back to our chat GPT one here. So we have this first shape and it's hard to see because there's the black underneath it, but there's our shape there. So that one's at a foot. I'm going to do just one or like I'll do one more and then I'll pause and kind of show you it when it's finished and how we're going to edit it. So for this one, we're creating an extrusion again. And we're going to, remember, trace some of these overlapping lines because we want this mass to connect to each other. So we're going to get a curve here. Looks like my end of my curve is about there. Putting it about in the middle. There we go. Okay, we'll get a straight line. Maybe come down just a tiny bit to get into the center. Go over here, kind of keep it in the center. Go over to here now and connect all the way. And now we're going to trace over this part and connect it. But before we leave, I want this to be instead 6 inches. So then I'm going to say, okay. Now we're going to go ahead and look at that on the 3D view. And you'll see though, again, it's trying to be on the back side of the wall. But what I want to do is I want to kind of shimmy to, I'm looking at it on the side. See my little handle? I want to pull this out. I want to pull this one to here. So honestly, the thickness when you first make it doesn't matter a whole lot. It's just that we want to get this kind of variation. But so that's how this guy is going to start looking for us. So let's see. So this will be kind of eventually making this whole circle. So I'm going to pause, make the circle, talk about it, just a few other quirks of how you make this. All right. So one thing actually before I get going on this is that you can copy and rotate shapes. It's a little tricky. So these are theoretically all the same sizes and shapes, right? So if you say edit, and then you can do literally Control C, Control V to paste. And so it's kind of, I'm just going to put it over here for now. And maybe I'll put, all right, so we're going to kind of move this guy over, shimmy it to about here. And then I'm going to try to rotate it and see if I can get a clean rotation. So I'm going to kind of go like this. I'm guessing it might be 30 degrees. So actually, can I see it up there? Yes, I can. I'm going to type in 30 and see if I'm lucky. And that's what it is. No. So we're gonna try that again, and we're gonna kind of try to shimmy it over. Oh, wait, that's pretty good. Although the only thing is, see how it's not exactly overlapping and matching with the line. So the kind of the art of this is that it's based on a Celtic knot where everything should overlap. So that might not work so great for us. There's another example that I was doing for a student called this Olipop one, where I was able to make a P, copy the P, and then angle it just slightly different. This was a little bit easy because remember, these guys didn't need to line up. So I made this P, I copied and pasted, I moved the other P over here, and then I rotated a little bit. This we'll talk about in a minute because this is void extrusion. So it's slightly different concept. All right, so I'm going to pause and then finish my little chat GPT and then we'll show all that. All right, popping in this to explain this again. So this is the guy where it's like connecting to this side of the wall, but it's poking out on this side. So this is my third basically like swoop of this design. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it to there. See, so it's lining up there. And then I'm going to pull it to here. And now we can kind of look at it again in 3D. And you can see now it's kind of, it's like stacking. So it's thick, thin, thick again. And that's where this kind of like left like one, oh, actually this is Olipop right now. So we'll talk about that guy in a minute. But that's where these kind of views, like going in and out and the angles can help you sort of determine how thick you want everything to be. Okay, so all these shapes are now traced and are at different like thicknesses. So basically this is where I'm using this left kind of view. So this is the last one. Forgetting, I think it's supposed to be one of the thin ones. So I'm going to pull it up to here and I'm going to pull it through to here. And now we'll go ahead and look at it on its like 3D view. So it's right here, view one. Oh yeah, it works. Okay, so like, let's see. So how are we doing this? So this one's thick, this one's thick, this one's thick, and then this one, and this one are thinner. And we can kind of see most of that like here's the thinner ones, here's the thicker ones. So if the student who's doing this thinks they're too chunky, they can come back in and kind of pull these things a little like into each other. Now, let me explain this, like the Olipop one, which where we used void extrusion. So I'm going to show that in just a second. Okay, so I'm gonna just go over this circular one because this uses void shape, so it's a little bit different than some of the others. So this is the placement side. We're looking at it now. So I made a big extrusion, a big circle basically, a disc pretty much. Let's look at it kind of again in 3D. So there's the disc there. So it was just, like it looked like a hockey puck. And then what we did is we cut out, extruded each letter. So the way that works is the disc got traced and you can kind of see the shape right about there. And then each letter got traced, but as a void form. So the way that works is I'm gonna like delete this like um O here. So like see how it's blue? That's the active one. So I'm gonna delete. The ones that are orange are already like good to go. Hopefully, let's make sure I didn't just delete that poor bugger or Olipop. So you can see there's O's, L's, I, P's. I could copy this and just move this void shape over, but I'm going to just show you how to quickly do that. So if we want to have that kind of like cut out of basically what's the hockey puck shape, we're going to do create void forms. This is going to be a void extrusion. So to make the O here, I'm going to get a circle. I'm trying to get roughly right in the center of this O. So it looks like that's pretty good. Yep, it's right there. Then to make it be more like a donut, we're going to go back here and see how it snaps right to the center of the original circle. That's good. I'm going to zoom in to kind of get that pretty exact. All right, there we go, right there. All right, right now it says 1 foot. We'll see what's happening with that. So we're going to click OK. We're going to look at the 3D view of that right here. So you can't really see it because what's happening is it's happening over here for whatever freaking reason. So we're going to look at the left elevation here. So here's the left one. And if we look at it, you can see here's all the void forms here from all the other letters. This guy, for some reason, decided it wanted to go right on us. So I'm going to pull this one up here. I'm going to pull this one here. And then this logo, we wanted some space behind the letters. We don't want them to be cut all the way through and see like bare wall behind it. So now there's the, oh wait, that's the other guy there. So hold on, let's go keep going back over here. Here's our left for the Olipop. Let's go back to the 3D view here. I'm kind of shimmied it here, but now you can see that it's cut it all the way through. All right, so now, before you bring these in, you might want to go ahead and paint and put in the materials. So I'm just going to kind of do a quick version of this. This one I think is a green paint, but again, the student can change this later. But we're going to go to manage. We're going to go over here to materials. So if you want to make a paint or any other kind of materials, there's already stuff kind of loaded in here. So one of this is wall material, so it's a default. I'm going to right click on that, duplicate material and assets, and I'm just going to say like wall, just say like green wall or something like that. Green wall. All right, now right now, we don't want to like override this lovely blah gray. So we're going to click this little white box right here. Before we do anything else, click on graphics. All right, so it's updating. We're going to click graphics and say use render parent. So whatever color we pick, we want this to change. So right now we don't want this gray. We're going to click on the RGB. I think it's like a green, kind of like this maybe. So I'm going to pick this for now, just as a sample. It's hard to see because my name's in front of it, but you're going to say okay and apply and all that. You can also see how shiny you want it. So, or it's not metallic, but if you were to make it metallic, when you render it, it'll be, again, work like metal and light will bounce off it. So I'll say okay for now. That's very bright turquoise. That's a lot, but we'll just so we can see it. So now we're going to go to modify and then the paint, and then we're going to click on it. And oh, it's material. Oh, I had aluminum for another student. We're going to pick on the turquoise now. Click on it. Boom, there's your turquoise. So you could also go in though. So we'll play with this metal right now, and you can paint the inside of these void shapes. So see how that's metal now? So that's gonna like really kind of jump off the wall in a nice way. This might not be what the student wants, but so they can kind of come back in and edit, but it'll give you an example of what this looks like. I might be getting the edges and not the faces. Yeah, so see how there's all these surfaces? So you'd have to go, whoops, we don't want that metal. You have to kind of go back and forth and kind of get all these little bits and bobs. You're going to have to zoom way in, get your little paintbrush. So wait, up, I lost the paintbrush. It's over here, and see how you're going to kind of get all the little surfaces. So I'm going to kind of leave that like that for now, and eventually take it out because I don't think this is the color the student wants. But now all I have to do is load into project, right? So once this is done, this is my kind of template project here. So I'm going to say okay. And I can go to that view that I had up. So, oh, we got to save now too. You can see that there's a couple kind of sitting here waiting to be looked at. I'm going to click on the 3D view here, and there it is now. And it's on this side of the wall. So this is the kind of, you got to think of ahead of time of what side of the wall you want this on. So when I made this view, we're kind of doing this like this back side of the wall, but that's what gets it on the face that's like the face of the wall that's like literally facing me, where the if we turned ourselves around and kind of walked around the corner here, that's the other side of the wall. So again, you're going to need to kind of math out where this needs to land, but that's how you paint it in. That's how you bring it in here. Obviously make sure to save it because you can always go back in and edit these things again, make them less thick, make them chunkier. Fortunately, you can't scale it. So you can't scale it bigger or smaller. So you really do want to take your time and on this placement side of things, math out where everything's going to go, math out how big it is, how wide you want to do it. The nice thing is this doesn't actually take very long. So if you make one and it's too dinky or it's way too big, once you figured out the process the first time, it's pretty easy to kind of whip these off. And like I said, you can like copy and save this again. So if I wanted this in another colorway, so like here, we're looking at this guy in 3D. If I want to use this in my reception desk, but then I want to use it later on in another part of my office, I'll just basically do a file like save as, and then I can paint it a different material. So like that's kind of a cool aspect of this to kind of continue that branding throughout your space. Cause if we go and look back on our kind of like our floor plan and things like that. So if you're looking at this guy here, let's go back to our floor plan. Um, you're going to come off the elevator. We should see some branding somewhere in here, right? Even if I'm walking this way as a guest, but if I'm walking that way as an employee, it'd be nice to have some branding here too, and a big logo here. And maybe in your forum, which is going to be a big gathering space for people where you might have a lot of guests at your company. Another nice place to throw that logo on the wall somewhere. Again, obviously, the more branding you can give your company, the better marketing they are to all the guests that come in. All right, so hopefully that's helpful. I know that there's a lot of fussy details to this. And again, depending on what semester you have me, we will definitely give you support and guidance in this in class. And obviously, like I'm helping folks in the back end clean this up because we all used the wrong template to begin with. So now we've got to figure it out and we want this wall-based template, even though it's quirky. But well, like I said, we'll help you get through it. We'll figure it out. We'll get some cool logos on the wall. All right, thank you.